Hello, icons. Today is May 17th, 2018, and I have a special treat for all of you. And that is with Todd Crockett, our next icon of the month. And bear with me, Todd. I just want to make sure that we are live on Facebook. So welcome, everybody. Hold on just one second. And yes, we are live on Facebook. Fantastic. Okay, welcome, everybody. Again, today is May 17th, 2018. I've got Todd Crockett, our next icon of the month. Guys, this man is closing over 400 transactions year after year after year, and he does it with ease. What he's learned how to do is to really build and motivate a team by focusing in on a fun culture where everybody is thriving and everybody is productive. So Todd, welcome to our webinar.
Thank you, Sean. It's a blast to be here.
And we go back a long ways. Why don't you let these guys in on how you and I met?
Oh, it goes way back from our mentor, Howard Britton, who would go by. Remember his alias when he'd check in at hotels and didn't want anyone to know his actual name?
Lance.
Dirt Lance. Yes, I'm sorry. I jumped on your line. It was Dirt Lance. So I had the pleasure of Sean and I touring the country doing 2.5 day seminars with Star Power University, and we'd have people break down their scripts and role play and really practice. And thankfully, Sean, this was before the smartphone, so we didn't have to deal with all the interruptions and people on their phones and text messaging. So we really had people's focus and attention for 2.5 days. It was a whole different experience. And I know obviously that's what's important. I know a lot of you look to replicate that with SOAR because you need that hands-on environment to truly master the skills. Otherwise, your attention gets diverted and people start chasing shiny objects and squirrels and get distracted, and you really need to focus on your training. So kudos for doing that.
So
I can tell you something funny. And you always have to keep, you know what they say about a mind, it's kind of like a parachute, right? What do they say, Sean?
It's never works properly unless it's open.
Yeah, so I have to tell you a story about when Sean one time, early in the buyer's specialist universities, it's the end of the day. I'm tired. I tapped out. I'm thinking, you know what? I just want a Corona and a jacuzzi. I'm like, I'm already done. And Sean says, no, Todd, I want to walk you through this idea. I've got this idea in my mind. So we're standing in this conference room now at the end of the day. It's probably 6:30. And he's walking us step by step through the process. And here's what I want to do. And here's the different steps. And he's giving me visualized things like pink elephant. Don't think about a pink elephant. And he's going all the way around the room and he's all excited. He looks at me and he, Todd, what do you think? And I'm like, Sean, it'll never work. It'll never work. So how many people have you helped with your 20-point buyer presentation?
Tens of thousands of people. Yes, and the memorization technique associated with it, while it is a little bit different and it's a little outside the box, it does allow people to memorize the 20 expectations that must be set when working with buyers. So Todd, you were the very first person to ever hear that presentation. And now I probably presented that to well over 100,000 realtors, if not closer to 1 million. I mean, seriously, I have had the pleasure of walking people through that and literally changing the way they approach the buy side of their business so that they can really systemize that process, doing it the same way every single time to produce a consistent and predictable result. So
I'm happy to eat my words. I'll do both hands. So yes, I was wrong on that one. But I realized, you know what? If you would have just presented it in the morning when I was fresh,
right,
I would have absorbed it. But that's the thing is, you know what? You always have to have an open mind because you know what? You're not always fresh. Sometimes you're tired. You're worn down. But you know what? I learned a lesson there of always look for opportunity, look for those flashes of brilliance so you can capitalize on those. So that was a good lesson there, and kudos for you to continue to implement and train that system. So great job.
Right back at you, Todd. I've learned a lot about what you're doing, especially with Train Launch. I'm excited to bring that up today, talk a little bit about that. Yet I got a couple of comments here. Jason Daniels, wow. He said, I remember both Star Power University courses. I took them both in Denver. What a blast that was, wasn't it? Buddy, looks like the band is back together. I remember that. Buddy was right there next to you as I was walking through the 20-point system. And Jason says, I still remember Inspector Gadget for inspections. Good job, Jason. Way to go, buddy. I absolutely love it. Phenomenal. So Todd, let us in. You and I have had a couple of pre-calls leading up to today. I feel exceptionally prepared to just blow the minds of our attendees today. So give us just high level, what do you want to cover today? And what do you want these guys to walk away with?
Yeah, I really think the key is how are you going to systematize anything that you do more than once? And then if it's worth training, you want to record it so you can go ahead and have people revisit that, practice anything of those items. But what we've learned to do, if there's any challenge that we have, we go ahead and systematize that so we can overcome that. And it just helps you onboard the process. And there's a couple things that we did. Everyone probably has already, so we're not going to go through these, but things we did from the Buyer University is having a buyer call-in sheet on yellow so you can identify it so it doesn't get lost in with white ones. We have a seller call-in sheet so you can pull up information. These are the basics. And so I had another challenge regarding open houses and wanted to make sure things were done correctly on that. So I'm like, you know what? I need to set up a system because it works better. Because I had an agent show up at an open house and it was a new agent and he's like, I thought the directional arrows were already up. And I'm like, Mike. And I'm like, no, Todd, I didn't train him properly. I didn't have the proper system and protocol in place. So we said, you know what? We need to make sure that gets done. So we did that with the system. So we systematize things so we can expedite the growth. And then one thing we do is we just make sure everybody on our team has a really good time because you know what? Our job is essentially to have fun with the team. We take our business serious, but we certainly don't take ourselves serious, and we have fun with the teammates because it's a competitive environment, but it's also an invigorating environment. So that we do. And then lastly, it's always the mindset of, hey, what else do we need to learn? Because it's always the changes are coming rapidly, and you've got client expectations, and we read books in the past like Inside the Magic Kingdom where you're competing with everybody's service experience in any environment. And as we know now is how quickly can you get information. It used to be return that phone call within an hour. Then it's 5 minutes. Now it's the speed to lead. 5 minutes isn't enough. It's got to be in 2 minutes. And so you look for that automation, whether it's a chat box or how quickly can you back to somebody. So those are things that we're always trying to keep up with the industry and provide valuable tools to our team members.
Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about systems. And you'd mentioned an open house system. I'm going to put it on the screen here in just a second so you can see what the feel and look of this system might look like. Now, a system to me, gang, it's nothing more and nothing less than a standardized process that produces a consistent and predictable as well as replicatable result. So you do it the same way every single time, and you get that consistency in your business. Now, the only time you would modify it is for the natural behavioral tendencies of your prospect, right? Now, I want you to hear what Todd did there. First, he took responsibility as a leader. He said, oh, you know what, Todd, that's your fault. You didn't train them appropriately. So gang, anytime we have a frustration in our business, well, it's not you, it's not your team, it's not your people, it's not the prospects or the clients. It is merely the lack of a system. And so what we all need to do, rather than have a fix mentality, meaning I show up at the office, I put out this fire, I put out that fire. Next thing you know, you feel more like a firefighter than you do a professional realtor. Rather, it's about fix, prevent. And that's exactly what Todd did with the system that I'm going to put up here on the screen for all of you to review with us. This is a simple system around an open house checklist. So when an agent's going to do an open house, Todd, go ahead and walk us through this.
And the biggest thing with the checklist, I have checklists. If it's just a general checklist, you may look at it once and then it gets tucked away. This is designed to be for every agent at every open house. So this is designed when they get that, this is handed to them. So they're going to get that with the special agent name, the address, the open house date and time. So right off the bat, they're going to get this. And then they start going through the items that they need to complete because otherwise something gets skipped. And the best thing, the ultimate satisfaction, we had new agents join the team. And all of a sudden I realized, I'm like, I didn't even train Nikki on the open house. And then all of a sudden I look and she scheduled the open house with CSS and scheduled it like a showing. Then she went ahead and put the showing feedback. And then I went up to her and I said, Nikki.
That's a system inside of a system. To set it up in CSS as an open house, and what does that ultimately do for you? And for those of you who don't know, that centralized showing service, maybe you have it in your area, maybe you don't, yet they're a nationwide company. If you don't have it, you should. All right.
Yeah, so that just walks us right through it so we don't miss anything on it. So we're going to go right through and we're going to go through those items so we don't skip anything in the process. So it's just going to go right through the checklist to say, okay, with the agent, schedule that as an open house. So they schedule it, and for the buyer's name, they put open house. This really helps us because a lot of times the agent holding the open house isn't the one actually with the listing agent. So the listing agent's going to get peppered with from the seller. What's the feedback? Did you leave the seller a note? Did you email? This puts it right in the system so we can always refer back to it. So it's one of those items that we just wanted to make sure gets done every time the same way. And then we just go item by item through that checklist so we know different variables and important things that get handled with that. So that's part of it right there, of making sure you don't skip anything with it. So other items on the checklist that you're going to see of importance is going through and making sure that you post it on Facebook and promote that yourself so you're getting it out there. And then as Sean and I discussed is when people go to an open house, they may be there just to interview agents. They may go ahead to just look at homes. So sometimes people are coming through and it's rare that they're going to buy that first house that they go in on, but they may go ahead and differentiate yourself as an agent. We're all as agents perceived as commodities until we really show people what we do differently. So one of the things on the checklist is just go through and print a really easy, quick CMA of anything in that neighborhood with thumbnail photos, what's currently active, what's currently pending, contingent, and what is sold in the last 2 years. And you have those with copies of those. So you can go out and hand those general sheets out. And for people that want to go ahead and get additional information, you're going to make sure you have a valid email when they sign in. So you're going to go ahead and do that. So that's a very important part. Other items on the checklist that you're going to have is just making sure that you get everybody into your own CRM system. We utilize Boomtown, and soon it'll be integrate with Spacio, but now we have to make sure we go ahead and have people sign in and then go ahead and make sure we enter them into Boomtown. And it's people practice. Buyers are coming through trying not to sign in, trying to avoid it, but if you're there, it's your show, you're in control. So one of the things that I would do, if I've got my open house sign-in sheet, like I have right here, I'd have it right by my brochures. So people are coming in and the brochure is the bait. The brochure is the information they want. So they're right there and I just tell them, hey, if you want additional information, I'm going to have this on a kitchen island. Just go ahead and sign in real quick. As their hand extends to go ahead and grab the brochure, I'm just going to say, oh, and if you can sign in really quickly, their hand's already extended. Then they go right on over here and they start filling out the form. So you need those little nuances and techniques so you make sure you get everybody signed in, then add value. Then you go ahead, here's the additional properties that have recently sold. And let me just make sure I have your email here because people have bad handwriting. So sometimes I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, okay, let me just verify on this and have them spell it out to me again so I can make sure that I've got the valid email. So that's an option if you're doing it with paper instead of Spacio. So that's really the intent is you want to go ahead and get the contact information, make sure you have a valid email address, cell phone number. And if you're at that appointment and there's interest on something of other properties you're showing them, set an appointment right then. If you're going to set an appointment with them at the open house to take a look at their house, if they're looking to move, because you've shown the credibility in the difference of what you provide. Another thing on that checklist is going to be a realist property report form. And what you have to keep in mind is you have to think, what can you add value to anyone coming in the open house that they can't get off a syndicated site? So they can't get this from Zillow or Trulia or your broker's site. And on a realist report for us, it's going to show all the recorded sales of the property, of any property on the market. So I don't pull this on the subject property. I pull this on a competing property for sale in the area because it's going to show its sales history, but more importantly, it's going to show any recorded mortgage history. So you can see if somebody has a first mortgage on a property, what that original lien balance was. Do they have a second mortgage? Maybe it's just an equity line that's not drawn upon, but it's just information that captures people. It's captivating. We call it inside information. And then you set the stage that I can provide this on any property of interest. So simply know what you're interested in, and I'll provide this report to you. So it just gives additional information. Other things that you're going to see on the checklist is just making sure that our agents holding the open house are going to know what's being done advertising-wise with it. So it's going to go through it, and Nicole, our service manager, is going to have items that she's going to go through, making sure it's advertised on the various sites. Heather's then go ahead and further boost it out. And one of the tricks that we do with our agents is we're going to go ahead and post that out and boost it from the Crockett team site out to Facebook. But we want to reward the agent that's holding it open. So that is going to go with their name. So it would be lisa.clevelandhomefinder.com and get boosted that way for anybody that's looking for real estate in a target market with a Facebook post. Now, anybody that clicks on that property is going to go directly to Lisa and get registered as her buyer. So our agents having open houses, sometimes we'll get 3, 4, 5, 6 new buyers before the open house even happened. And that's just great activity that way. And it gets more and more activity in the property. And that's what you really want to, is create that as much exposure as possible. We look to have the properties, turn in by Wednesday and have any new listing be held open that first Sunday, and have at maximum a 2-hour open house. We're even now getting to the point of having certain properties open for 1 hour. And you have to sell the advantage to the seller. We want multiple buyers in the property. I recently had a property for sale, 1-hour open house, 5 buyers through. The buyers ultimately seeing other buyers too on the property, writes an offer that evening, because that's the urgency. But make it into, it's an open house party. You need to invite people, invite the neighbors, create urgency, add value, and that's how you sell properties quickly in today's market.
I love it, Todd. Good job. Thanks for walking us through that system. One other thing real quick, if I might be so forward to just suggest, is that you require the agents to bring a laptop, make sure they have Wi-Fi, and a lightweight inkjet printer with them. Now, gang, here's the point. If you do not develop the ability to possess something that the prospect wants, well, then you're pretty much dead in the water. You're stuck in the hamster wheel follow-up game, if you will. Yet rather, Todd, let me ask, do buyers look at properties they can't afford?
Yes, they can be all over the map if you don't quantify them.
No doubt about it. So when they go into an open house that you're holding that's $350,000, they can qualify up to $250,000. If you don't have a way to position yourself to possess something they want, gang, you're dead. You're stuck. You're stuck in the follow-up trap. And as soon as they see your number and they answer it once, then they'll get rid of you and then they'll never answer it again, right? Rather, let's provide value such that you can print out a list of properties that match their unique criteria. Show them how to read the MLS tear sheets, and then ask them to create an A list of properties and a B list of properties. And once they've narrowed it down to an A list of properties and you've got that in hand, I mean, guys, come on. It's so easy to set the appointment right then and there. Todd, by the way, do you have them bring a lender with them to the open house? I'm curious.
We don't always have a lender there, but we will have printout payments from our lender as far as what that comes down to, because that's what people do. They break it down to a monthly payment. So you've got that at various down payment amounts, so you can really look at what that payment figure is, because you want to make sure you're in the right bracket. And a lot of it comes down to what can they afford monthly. And you're right, people look at houses they can't afford, and some people, and then they may, quite frankly, have what we call champagne taste and a Kool-Aid smile with great intentions, but our job is to properly get them there and educate them on the homes they can afford. Otherwise, you're going to disappoint them. So you'd rather find that out sooner rather than later. And it's just a matter of just saying, you know what, let me make sure that you're comfortable with the payment and making sure you get the best interest rate. So let me have my lender, John Pinto, give you a call, and you're going to get the best package. Because you know what, Sean, what I've realized, it's not really just the purchase price of the home, but the total cost. If you get a significant savings in your interest rate, that's a big difference over the life of the home. So you'd be better off getting a purchase property now. You may spend $5,000 more than you anticipated, but at a better interest rate, you're going to be saving tens of thousands of dollars over the entire property purchase.
No doubt about it. Now, Todd, when you have developed the ability to get permission for the prospect, for your lender to contact them, what do you suppose that does to your ability to convert that lead to a client and ultimately get them under contract?
What it does, first off, because people have great intentions, but things get in the way. Life happens to all of us. So if you just ask for permission, hey, let me have my lender give you a call. What's the best time range? And then you just set it up that way. And sometimes we'll go ahead and I will set up a two-way text. I'll text the client and the lender at the same time. Hey, is this a good time for John to connect with you? So you're kind of involved in that. So you set it up that way. So you set up that relationship. Now, once they go to your lender of choice, it's a further endorsement they're going to utilize you. If they get pre-approved with that lender, they're more committed to work with you throughout the process. So the earlier on you can educate them, because our job is to guide them through the process. At Star Park University, we used to have what was the blind exercise, and it was a really great exercise. We would have like, how are you going to lead somebody that's blind? And it's kind of funny how people did it. Some people, as you remember, Sean, they'd go ahead and they'd put their hands on somebody's shoulder, and they'd push the blind person in front of them in the room, and the blind person would be all nervous if somebody's going to bounce or hit them, and we'd have somebody hold their hands side by side. But it really came down to the effective way to do that is have the person behind you putting their hands on your shoulders, and you said, okay, we're going to step first with the left and with the right. And basically, that's what we do with the real estate transaction. We've got a flow chart that walks people step by step through the process. And we're literally there in front of them saying, okay, step, 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 and guide them through the process. That's how you differentiate yourself. And that's how you get raving reviews and referrals and repeat business, because you simplified the process. You made it easy. It's easier not to move for somebody. So we just have to make that next step attainable and actually enjoyable. And that's what we do on the Crockett team.
Good job, Todd. All right. So you've got 29 people on your team. Tell me, let's rewind the tape a little bit when it was just you and your folks and your sister, and you guys were selling real estate together. How did you formulate the vision to grow it as big as you have?
It's one of those things that evolve. I can happily say that it's been now 23 years. I work with my family and I still like them. It's possible. So it goes well that way. And it evolved to the point where our marketing created demand. We had a lot of calls coming in on listed properties. So at that point, you started with the buyer specialists that were just working buyer side. And then as they've evolved in their skill set, then we said, okay, now we can have them list properties as well. And now we're bringing on agents that work within our system, but see the value in the system so they can have flexibility in schedule, have great brand recognition, and can go out there and really work with clients and helping people, really listening and helping people buy and sell homes, move their families into a better school district, get out of a payment, move to somewhere that a different location that's better, closer to work, and really help the client with the real estate needs, because everything else gets handled with the marketing. Everything from contract to close gets done when the process of developing an app, so people can go ahead and on their cell phones at any given time, a buyer's going to see, okay, I'm almost through the loop. Now I just need to get homeowners insurance. So they're going to have that as part of a service with the Crockett team. Hey, if Papa John's can do it with the pizza, we can do it with the real estate transaction and where you are in the circle process. So our job is to add those tools. So to answer the question is, the more value that you add, then you have clients that have a real estate transaction with you and say, you know what, I really like the team. I'd like to work with the team. I think we've got right now 5 of our agents who are Crockett team clients that the experience was so enjoyable, they wanted to get in that career path and share it with other people.
How cool is that? So you've got 20 agents on the team. Let me give you guys a vision of what this looks like. So when we look at Todd's org chart, now you got Todd, Dave, and Judy. Now Dave and Judy are Todd's parents. His sister has since left production, and she's now with Howard Hanna at the corporate level, correct?
Correct, yep.
All right. So then on the left side, we've got the admin. You've got Debbie Connor, who's the lead admin, as well as she does the books for the group. You got Kathy Shires, closing coordinator, Nicole McCracken, who's the listings manager, for lack of a better term. And then you've got Scott as a sales manager. Tell me about Scott. Because Scott's 20 people, right?
Correct. So Scott does a great job. Scott's he did the role naturally, because Scott is just very logical. It's funny when he shares with agents at meetings, he says, you know what, one of the benefits of the Crockett team is you learn in dog years. He's like, you're going to learn at 7 times the pace of any other agent, because there's so many transactions and so many scenarios that we discuss at our meetings that you just get up to speed much more quickly, because we're going to discuss things such as escalation clauses and tricks and multiple offers and techniques to make sure your client has the best lender, best letter written from the client to the other agent to the seller. So all of these items, Scott is very good at sharing. So he took that role on naturally. We would listen to him explain things. He went to several of buyer specialist universities. And the best thing is when we look at our clients, our team members are first off clients of the Crockett team. And you want to help them grow in their skill set, because when somebody is more competent, they become more confident and they project with conviction. And that's the whole thing we look to do with the Crockett team, is really replicate everything we did at Star Power University. So Scott took it to that next level. You hear people on the phone, and when they're delivering scripts, it's almost like they're speaking in tongues. And it's like a revelation that they didn't even know some of the scripts were in there, but they are. And it's become through repetition, through practice from hearing other agents. As our mentor, Howard Britton, would say, or ask the question is, how is it that a magician can pull a rabbit out of the hat? Well, he put the rabbit in the hat before the show started. And so our job is to make sure our agents have all those rabbits in their hat so they can pull those out. And it looks like it's a magic wand, but it's really a lot of preparation. And I remember Howard Britton would also say, really the key to spontaneity is great discipline. You can have flexibility in your presentation if you're so disciplined and you know your material so well that you can adapt to your clients and really listen and ask questions. So Scott was a master in that role. And then we just said, you know what, Scott, we really want you to take on that role with the team. He already is. He's an active producing agent, but he's somebody on the team that any agent can go to and have a question on a deal. And he's, always ready, able to assist. And now he's evolved to the point where he's helping our agents become more disciplined with their Boomtown, which is our CRM system, just making sure people are properly categorized and moving them along the process. So we work with a Boomtown coach that helps us do that, that's just specifically on the Boomtown program. Chris Jones that does that, but he's really just guiding Scott. Scott's the one that's going to make sure our agents are moving people in the category, contacting them, recording those contacts, whether it's a text message, cell phone, so we can see what's going on. So Scott's a great, valuable leader on the team, and people look up to him and appreciate his advice. It's nice when because I feel I've got a good common sense approach and good scripts and dialogues, and I'll listen to some time on how Scott describes something, and I'm like, you know what, that's actually better than I would have said it, but I like that. And you learn from people, say, okay, a little nuance, a little twist in the delivery. So Scott's a pro, and we appreciate what he does for the team.
No doubt. So he's in production, and he collects a small salary from you guys to manage the 20 agents. And then the 20 agents that you have on the team, they're more of they do listings and buyers, right?
They do.
And so on their own for business as well. Yes.
Yeah, so they do that. So we've got people can come in and immediately capitalize because of the Crockett team systems in place and the name recognition. We had another agent that was in the industry. Sherry joined us recently. She had sold 8 homes last year. She came, joined the Crockett team, and sold 8 homes her first month. Some of the things fell into place, but she's like, I don't know what I would have done with this amount of sales without the closing department. I could have never figured out how to get all of these deals closed. So we provide that for agents so they instantly have credibility, because you can lean off the team sales of, with a team that is a consistent track record selling over 400 homes a year, that we've been in that scenario. We have a lot of sold data. So anything is our numbers, it's team numbers of what we do collectively. So we give our agents that credibility and confidence. And now, so we've gotten to that as we evolve on the team. It was initially having a lot of buyer demand. Now we have that. We get buyer demand that need to sell properties, but now we also have specific, just really good prospecting agents on the phone. And I listened to one of your first icons of the month, Greg Harrelson, and how his team was just really assertive prospecting agents. And I think they've got a multitude of people in there in the morning standing up making phone calls, and we've looking to replicate that as well. So we've got Easton Lemons on the team, who's really a real strong leader on prospecting for sale by owners and expireds. And then we've had other people see what he's doing, and he helps them, coach them. We've got Carlin does a great job at that, Shannon, Nina, and you're seeing a whole group of agents that are just assertively going after listings, and kudos to them. They block the time, because first off, if you don't block the time to make the calls, but even prior to that, you got to block the time to train your skill set. That's where they talk about the Stephen Covey. You've got to stop to sharpen the saw before you start cutting. So they practice the scripts and dialogues, get on the phone, practice different variables. One of the scripts, what our agents recently utilized, well, hey, I see your property hasn't sold in the past. Really quickly, let me run a marketing diagnostics test. And then we just pull up and show them what we do differently to get the property sold. But those little nuances get people to open up the door. You just need to get with them face to face with the point of difference. The Crockett team brand gives them credibility, but they still go out and earn it because there's multiple agents making those calls from different brokers. But it's fun to watch their growth when you've got a newer agent that could step in and immediately start obtaining listings. And we're like, Nina, how did you list a $400,000 listing that's essentially, just on the fringe of our market area? And she just said, well, the seller said, you know what? I know that I could tell you're hungry. And I know if you don't know the answer, you've got the team to go to get the answer. I'm like, hey, great job on that. So it's inspiring to see agents really roll up their sleeves and help a lot of people in the community, because it's painful if you lose business to an agent that you really don't feel is qualified to help the consumer. We know our agents are qualified to help them, but it's still a matter of contact. Unless you're contacting people, getting face-to-face, they may work with a less competent agent. I believe NAR studies just came out where that 72% of buyers are going to work with the first person they have a conversation with. May not be the best, most qualified agent. So our job is to make sure we have the speed to lead with the skill set to be up and above any other agent out there, so you really have higher satisfaction, which gets to higher conversion rates.
Undoubtedly, Todd, no doubt. And so you've got two people that handle your marketing effort. And we're going to get into some branding because you guys are marketing geniuses and the branding geniuses. I took so many ideas away from the Crockett team, you have no idea. In fact, I've shared it on past webinars where you guys would Crockettize the house. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. So if I forget, remind me, yet I don't want to skip over this. So Scott's managing 20 sales agents that are both doing listings and buyers. Obviously, with the value that you're providing, you're able to get away with, well, not get away with, but yet command a commission split because of the value that you're providing. Mm-hmm. So tell me, how do you compensate these 20 agents?
They start off, when they come with us, it's at a 50% commission split, goes up to our highest producing agents at 70% commission split. And then we understand that in today's market, agents are free agents. They're getting contacted. They're getting called. I mean, it's no different than, hey, pretty soon LeBron James's contract's going to come up and he's a free agent. So we treat every one of our agents like they're LeBron James. When it comes down to it, we know they're going to be recruited, and we're going to have to make sure that we provide the value so they stay on the team. That's what it is. They're our first client. So we're looking at this. How do we add more value with our marketing to make it easy for them to open doors? How do we make it with our closing department so we make it easy to close a transaction and close that sale in a way that they're going to get referrals and repeat business? That's what we have to do as a team, because that every day they've got the decision, is this team the best place? And a lot of that is culture too, because you have to have an environment. As we know, real estate can be a grind. It can kind of pull you in a lot of directions. So we teach them how to block time. Scott, for example, great family guy. So that really comes first. So he knows he'll get out his schedule and he's going to block that schedule. And we talked about at the university that the big rock story, the guy's got a big jar. You fill it, you got to put the big rocks in first, because if you put smaller rocks, sand, pebble, water, you can't get the big rocks in. You block it out as an appointment. We tell all of our agents that. Any family activities, you just tell clients, I have an appointment at that time. So we do that. We teach them balance of life. So if you ever scroll through any Crockett team posts, you're going to see people having a lot of fun because we go on trips together, whether it's Charleston or New Orleans. It is that team bonding experience that's pretty fun. It's funny. We went on a couple trips, and now they set up a group text for the people on the trip, and they're actually going through like withdrawals after the trip because they're used to spending time in the social environment. They're just sending funny text messages, et cetera. But you have that where it's a truly, a place you want to come and enjoy your coworkers. It's competitive. Our agents are competitive. So, there's going to be, you're crossing lines and different having variables. So sometimes we've got agents that are competing on different properties, both for listings and offers, but it's with respect and watching each other grow in that skill set, which is fun. So our job is to add value, look at them as they're our clients first. How do we make them more effective in the marketplace? So we're really agent-centric.
Way to go, Todd. Love it. Okay. I'm going to bring something up here. Now, you meet with your team 2 times per week, every Wednesday and every Friday. What do you talk about on Wednesday?
So Wednesday, we're going to go through with any particular technique that they need to make sure that they're utilizing. One example I have in here, it's just really easy little technique, but just make sure you master it, and I'll get this a copy out to you. And it's just a net offer to purchase form. And we're going to explain the form because what it comes down to is make sure you use this every time anybody is going to finance a closing cost, because that's what it is. It comes down to financing a closing cost, and you have to explain it that way. So if it is a $200,000 contract and they want $3,500 for a closing cost credit, you've got that where it's effectively a sale price of $196,500. That's what you have to present. You have to go to the seller and say, okay, net offer is $196,500, then they're going to finance their closing costs. So we're going to add that on. So the contract price is 200, but you have to tell them 196.5. And then this form's going to explain the only way that they can go ahead and finance their closing costs is built into the mortgage. So the co-broking agent is going to see this. Because if you go on the opposite and you tell any seller, especially if you're a buyer's agent writing this, and you don't give this to the listing agent, if that listing agent says, okay, we have an offer on the property, it's $200,000, but wait, it gets worse. They want a $3,500 credit for closing costs. What does every seller say, Sean?
I'm not paying closing costs.
I'm not paying their closing costs, and you have to fight that. So you have to educate people. No, they're financing the closing costs. So if you educate people properly, utilize that form. That would be one. One thing that we do as a point of difference with the Crockett team is we have a due diligence email that we send to every lender. So I've gotten a pre-approval once in the past that they didn't give me page 2 apparently, because page 2 must have had like 12 conditions. So like you get to closing and then you've got sellers that like moved out of their house, they moved into an apartment, and then you tell them, I'm sorry, they didn't qualify for the loan. They're like, well, I thought they were pre-approved. So we send out a due diligence questionnaire that we instruct that lender we need completed before we put ink to paper. And this is going to be credit pulled, down payment source verified, income verified. Do they own more than 3 properties? Any other conditions we should be aware of? So you have there's 7 questions on there. Anything that we've been clipped with in the past, we want to make sure we get these answered so it's going to flush anything out. How quickly do you think you can close this loan? So you want to ask those specific questions to a lender so we know all of these items. So you want to flush out any challenge in advance. You know, do they need to sell in order to purchase? All of these items here, so we could go back with our clients and say, okay, this is solid. It's really important to today's competitive environment, because we're having 3, 4, 5 offers on a property. And it doesn't help me if it's $1,000 more and it doesn't close. There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than a listing agent being in this scenario and representing a seller. And you've got all these offers to choose from. And you ultimately pick one that doesn't close because you didn't do your due diligence. That's kind of malpractice in my mind. You better do your due diligence and make sure it's a solid vetted offer. Otherwise, you've done damage to your seller. So we really make sure we train agents on that. So we do that. That's going to go from 10 to 10:30. Now we have a specific.
Pause real quick before you move on, because I just want to point it out to everybody. I trust you can recognize the fix, prevent mentality that's being displayed at the Crockett team. See, they've been burned in the past. Anytime you get burned, you say to the team, how can we make certain that this never, ever happens again? See, it's frustrating. And a frustration in your business is nothing more than the lack of a system. So what you did is you created a due diligence report that you give to the lender, and the lender must complete, and so on and so forth, to make certain that you don't get burned again. So good job on the fix, prevent. That's how great systems are built. That's how great teams are built and great businesses are built. So good job, Todd. Now, I'll go ahead and transition to the next point. On Wednesday's meeting, what else do you talk about?
So now we've realized we need to help our agents more with Boomtown accountability. So the challenge we had in the past is that, I work with my mom and dad. My mom is so sweet, she'll give you a cavity. So anytime I try to hold people accountable, she'd be like, oh, no, like, oh, we have to, because otherwise, our agents kind of float and then they're not as successful. So we've as collectively as a team embraced that, and then it brought in people to help us do that, because Boomtown really just set up a peer system where other agent on Boomtown is very familiar with it, Chris Jones. So he then has carte blanche to open up our system and look at it, because we didn't properly train people on how to move people in the category, how to properly make sure that they're contacted, etc. And now they've got a vital report score that kind of lets us know where they are, how we're doing in the process. So now that's the focus of our meeting from 10:30 to 11, of making sure people are properly followed up with, because we left a lot of deals on the table. I guess the best way to describe it, it's almost like I consider turnovers. We do a lot of sports analogies here. So it's like a turnover. If it's like an offensive turnover, I literally threw the ball away. I threw it out of bounds. And then you talk about points off turnovers. How many points were scored off turnovers? And losing teams normally lose the turnover battle and lose because of points off turnovers. Same thing in football. Interception, fumble, other team scores. There's 7 points the other way. We have to look at, okay, how many times did we turn it over to a competitor that those should have been points on our scoreboard? So we really look at that now of, of how do we improve on that, making sure nothing slips through the cracks. There's to-dos in the system. People are getting neighborhood alerts because everybody likes to be the first one. It happens with us. As soon as anytime a sign pops up in your neighborhood, everybody's like, okay, how much is it selling for? Everybody wants to know. It's almost like, okay, what's my home equity report? How much equity is in my house? Well, your neighbors shouldn't have to guess. Anybody that you know in your sphere shouldn't have to guess. They should be on a neighborhood alert. So they're going to get an email when that new property comes on the market, when it sells. And you can gauge that, whether they want to get that daily or weekly, but you should be their source of information. They shouldn't be going to third-party syndicate sites. So we're just trying to make sure we put people in there so we don't have any points off turnovers going elsewhere.
I like that home equity report. I think that's a term that I'm going to be testing with some of my clients for sure. Absolutely. So you'd mentioned a scoreboard. So I want to share what your scoreboard looks like here. So take a look at this, guys. This is the scoreboard that's up in the conference room. And you guys review this on Wednesday and Friday, correct?
Correct. So we're going to go that through, and then we have it updated daily so we can see that. But that's right in our conference room. So the whole team's going to be there on Wednesday and Friday. And it's designed to look at, this is just really easy. It's kind of funny because Dan Gilbert came up with a thing called the diff for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And most people are kind of chuckling because the diff is just like simply math. Is your team up by 5 points or down by 5 points? But sometimes it's just easy to take a quick glance to see where you are. This does the same thing with the Crockett team. So we can take a look at that and say, okay, we do it for each month. And this is simply just a large poster board that I had Erin on the team lay out. I just sketched it up. Then she just had it oversized over at FedEx office. We had it printed and then laminated. So this is just something you can wipe off quickly and write that numbers in. So it's going to let us know currently, and this was as of yesterday. So for May, for home, that's how many homes we have listed. So we have 18 homes listed. It lets us know what did we do last month. So in April, we listed 27 homes. So right now, we're -9 on the diff. So if we want to do better than last month, we need 10 more listings. And then you want to see how you did year over year. So last May, we had 27 listings, same number, so we're still -9 there. So our intent is make sure we certainly get 10 listings, and we'll be plus that column for both of them. When you come over to homes sold, 33 homes, you say, hey, that's pretty good, but we're still -21 on the diff. So we need 21 homes to go ahead and beat last month's 54. And it's funny, when you have a good month on it, like 54, when you flip over and you go on to May 1st, that diff is -54. So you have a -54 in the diff column. And you're like, okay, we have to have 55 sales here till we get a plus. And then it comes down to
sold. These are properties placed under contract and escrow or pending, correct?
Correct. Okay. So these are under contract as they're written. So then we have this here. So I don't know what we were doing last May. It wasn't that good. So last May we had 34 sales. So we're about ready. I think, honestly, I think we're already past that. I've already heard numbers coming in. So we're already past what we did last May. So that I'm pleased with. Again, we had 433 sales last year. Our goal is to have 500 sales this year. So we currently have already transferred title on 170 properties. We've got 222 written so far this year. So we're on pace, but we don't want to make it close. We want to rush past that. So we'll be at 500 plus this year.
I love it, Todd. Way to go. All right, so let's shift gears. Let's talk a little bit about social media, because you are active on social media, brother. So help us out. What do you do that gets you business on Facebook, for example?
The things that, with us, we want to look at how are we going to also reward agents that are listing properties. So the first thing that we end up doing with properties is go ahead, when it's officially listed, we're going to have that out there promoted by the Crockett team, but it's going to be promoted and boosted if it's going to be easton.clevelandhomefinder.com. Then we're going to boost that out with the Facebook business page on anybody that has searched for properties, looking on any of the criteria, which we have. There's a lot of housing criteria there. Then we boost it out there. So that listing agent is going to get the leads that register on his property. So that's the thing that we do. As I mentioned, we do the same thing for our open house people. So that's one way to get things out there. What you realize is other things that I've learned is I recently had a property that I listed, and I went ahead and I just posted the property and I had coming soon. What do you think the price of this property? Guess it for a $50 gift card. Well, then you have just a ton of people on there. It was well over 54 comments on it of just guessing the list price the price, which ultimately is going to be the sales price, but you get a variety of engagement that way of people guessing the price for a gift card. Other things that we'll do is what we talk about is secret homes. Everybody loves a secret. So those are things where you put a couple photos of a house that's not yet on the market. And what you'll see on that is they'll start tagging all their friends of who's interested in the property, because people like about those homes that are not yet on the market. So you just have a couple exterior photos. If there's a good interior photo, they may not be quite ready to put it on, but we're ready with an agreement. It's just not ready for showings yet. That generates a lot of activity and a lot of just market awareness for the Crockett team brand.
No doubt. How are you leveraging video to get more business?
Video is fun. We're doing more and more video with it. So we started to realize what could we do differently with video. So we have some engagement videos that we really, I've got my partner in life in real estate, Lisa, and we just end up having a lot of real estate conversations. So we're like, hey, we should be able to just share some of our real estate. Why don't I just share it with you? Should I share it with you?
Share it with us, please.
All right, let's pull that up. All right, let's see here. Let me hang tight. We're going to find that.
As Todd's pulling that up, guys, I mean, video is by far the most powerful way that you can capture leads on social media. Now, here's the point, though. Make it social, right? I think that our friends on Facebook get really tired of us clogging up their news feeds with just pictures of listings, right? Rather, Grant Wise shared a strategy and structure with us in low or no inventory type markets where literally you write a buyer story. Think of a buyer that you're working with. Where do they want to move to? What's the key component of the story? Were they ex-military? Do they have a child with special needs? Do they need this particular school district? Why are they moving? And that story becomes your post, yet then you also attach a video of you in front of like the neighborhood sign would be a great example, meaning I'm working with the Jones family. They really need the school district. They've got a 4-year-old son who's got special needs, whatever the case is, right? And you tell the story on the video in front of the neighborhood sign, the stanchion, if you will, that announces the neighborhood. Then what you do is you do geo-targeted Facebook ads where you can literally go in and drop a pin where you want this ad to be run, and it will hit only the homeowners within that general area, and it'll show up in their news feed. So the top line in your post would be, like, for example, I live in Rough Hollow here in Lakeway, Texas, just outside of Austin. If I saw something in my news feed that said, Rough Hollow homeowners, tune in, right? I'm working with this buyer, needs this, needs that. And of course, you already know that this buyer can qualify for that area, and they've got a home that they need to sell at $250,000 or $1 million or whatever it is. So they'll really tune in, they'll pay attention. And then the call to action is a simple private message, or you have your phone number as part of the post. Ask them to just pick up the phone and give you a call. It's a powerful strategy, guys. And for literally under $20, you should be able to develop at least one solid lead. Powerful. So Todd, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, well, let's check out the video marketing that you guys are doing on social.
I'm working with Scott and Amy. They're so frustrated.
Share screen.
That would help.
By the way, Buddy West says that LeBron will be headed to Philadelphia, just so you know.
Wow, West, he just likes to instigate.
He really does.
Now, we may take a second because I've got to post one in here. Let me see if we can pull this up here. I think I know what to do. Hey, there we go. I wish I would have done that a while ago.
All right.
Can you see it now?
Not yet. Go ahead and hit share screen, and there we go. Good job, Todd. All right.
All right.
Let's check this out. And there's Lisa on the left and Todd on the right. Let's see it.
So Todd, I'm working with Scott and Amy. They're so frustrated right now. They missed out on a house on Creekwood that was everything they wanted, but it sold so quickly.
Well, didn't they say they wanted to wait to put theirs on the market till they found the right home?
Yeah, they did. And I told them that any house that they're attracted to is also attracting other buyers.
You know what happens now? Now they're going to compare every new home on the market to the one they missed out on.
They are, and they said that they wish they would have listed their home sooner.
You know, Lisa, that's really the way to do it, because as a seller, you're in control. You don't need to accept an offer if the timing doesn't work out for you.
That's true. Or you can accept an offer, and it could be contingent upon you finding a house within a certain time frame.
Brilliant.
Or you can close and rent back from those buyers.
I wish everyone was listening into our conversation right now.
I know, right?
Wait, are you listening to us?
If so, click learn more.
Or better yet, share it or tag somebody you care about.
Don't delay.
Let us help you today.
Good job, Todd. That's fantastic. And while it was a little bit broken on the play because of the bandwidth, I got the point, right? I got the point is that you guys are making it more social, and I think that's the critical aspect of all of this. So Todd, go ahead and click unshare. Did I lose you, buddy? Todd, can you hear me? All right, I'm back. Not sure what happened there. Go ahead and hit the share button again and just unshare your screen, Todd.
Let's see, resume, stop share. There we go. All right.
Go. All right. Yeah, sorry about that, Randy. Yeah, I'm back. I'm not sure what happened there yet. I got booted off somehow, some way. Okay, so tell me about your fun culture on your team. How do you create that? Tell me some of the things you do in the team meeting to just liven things up. Talk to me.
One thing we realize is you got to make that meeting a celebration, and we want to make every lesson a celebration. So on Friday, anytime anybody has a sale, they're going to go ahead and share the experience of how they first off secured that client, then really quick overview on the negotiations on the property. Was this, what was your initial offer? How many steps in negotiation?
And Todd, I've lost audio on you. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay. Okay, audio or both here. Thank you very much. I just can't hear you, Todd. There we go. You're back.
All right. So things that we do, the people get to celebrate. Then what they do is, at our meetings, you roll 5 dice. And then you get to see whatever you got here dice-wise, and then you get that in single. So we literally have stacks of money at our meeting. So that helps attendance. Lots of cash helps people show up. So that they do. And people get more excited about the rolls and the commission dollars, it seems. So then they look at that and say, okay, you got 17. And the team will go, roll again, roll again. Then they roll again. And whatever they get on that second time they have to keep that dice. So sometimes they'll get 23 and everybody will like, oh, great. And otherwise they'll get like 12 and people start laughing. That's kind of fun. That helps. Yeah, we do the same thing when you have any new listing. You'll roll 3 dice on that when you get the new listing. And again, we're going to go through every Friday, all of our listings like consumers do. And how do they do that? They're going picture by picture. So we're going to look at that and critique and say, you know what? That's, let's move that forward, that photo up. That one's not good. And you also know when you've got your whole team of agents critiquing you, you better make sure things are done properly with the picture so that you don't have some goofy old little, whatever, a kitchen rag that's hanging over the range, or there's no box of cereal on top of the refrigerator, or everything looks good. Because really with our agents, one of our jobs is making sure you educate your sellers. You talk about a system with our sellers. We have a photo staging checklist. So you have to make sure the property is staged properly for photographs. You have to look at where's the photographer gonna stand, what's gonna be in the way. Are things in the way of the fireplace? We need to move that out. We look at things like natural light. We have to open up so the windows are natural lights. And if you look at, we have, if you go to just on Facebook, we have other videos that will talk about staging with just the Lisa and Todd Realtor. You'll find that out there, because ultimately what we say is clutter eats equity. If the house has too many items in it, people can't walk through it. That's what you want to do. So therefore, at the meeting, we're critiquing how the photos look. And we're critiquing the order, looking at the verbiage, so that you're kind of giving it a focus group study every single Friday on our new listings on the market.
I love it, Todd. Okay, so we're going to shift into branding because we've got just 5 minutes left. Yet to everybody who's watching right now, go ahead and type in the chat bar on the Zoom meeting Just what do you want to talk about? What do you want to hear from Todd? What questions do you have? Go ahead and type that out now. Yeah, Todd, talk to me about some of the branding ideas that you've developed over the last 20 plus years in this business.
Well, now you really want to take credit for success and do that visually. So I've got to get kudos out to Heather with the Crockett team. And when you go to the Crockett team site, you'll be able to see posts that she has there where it is a photograph of the listing with our agent's photo popped up and a sold starburst. So we want to give kudos to our agents that are listing properties and getting them sold successfully. So it's a great visual that we'll out and share on their Facebook page along with any testimonials, which really are endorsements. They're just client endorsements of what we do and backing that up. But that's just a really great visual of having the sold plus the agent photo. And we have a Crockett team sold starburst. So we just have a sold starburst, but we just put our Crockett team logo right there for the O, so it pops right in.
Now, one thing that you're doing, which is unconventional for most, is that you are really highlighting the successes of the agents on your team. And let's face it, guys, the reason that most people want to leave the team is because it gets cold in the shadow, and it's the rainmaker who it's all about me. It's all about me. And what I hear you saying is, no, we really position these people to really pat them on the back to help it, improve their confidence, inflate their ego, whatever you want to call it. Yet to give them the limelight, I think, is important. Yeah.
It is, and that's why they enjoy the Crockett team. That's why they're telling friends, hey, you want to join the Crockett team? That's why we've got other agents contacting us and say, you know what? You guys really have that much fun? I'm like, Sherry joined the team, and like, I thought, like, people don't think it's real until they're like, okay, I talk with Sherry now, and like, that's really what you guys do. That's really how you guys are. And that's really what it is. It's that infectious environment that you build confidence, you have fun with it, where it really becomes that synergy of activity just becomes electric. And then you just get inspired, and then it's everybody's raising it up. But that's what it comes down to. You've got a team members that are all challenging each other through their actions. You're seeing people step up for call nights, step up in script delivery, step up in their presentations. And the more the skill set raises, everybody looks around the room and says, hey, I better step up my game. And then have fun. It's a bunch of characters. With real estate agents, you get, grouped together. It's pretty funny. So you get, the comical, especially at our meetings, sometimes we'll go ahead and an agent will talk about the property they just sold. And so you'll have Shannon talk about a sale, and Tina will be like, you sold that? I lost out in a multiple. Like, our agents don't even know sometimes they're in multiples representing buyers on a listing of another co-broke that they don't even know to the meeting. And then we start laughing about it. But that, Scott says you're going to have lines crossed when you get that many agents, but it's just a matter how effectively you can close people. And it's the same thing when we have a lot of people will be into our database. So then you have to look at it and be like, somebody could say, well, I had them register, but I'm like, do they actively want to work with you? Are you doing the things in advance? Things that we can do now with .loop is sending out any agency acknowledgement paperwork so you can clientize them prior to the appointment. The property, you can just focus on the property. And so all of those different techniques so you can add value as a buyer's agent, because we kind of joked at the Buyer Specialist University that if a buyer could literally take your head and smash you through the window and open up the door, they would do that unless you add value. So you have to show, here's what I do differently. Here's how I can negotiate. One thing we teach our agents to do, if you're in a showing and they're interested in that property, I'm going to tell the buyer, okay, Sean, here's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to call the listing agent. First off, I want to find out it's still available. Are there any other offers? Then I'm going to find out, hey, if I can get my clients to write, it's one of 3 properties they're interested in, but if I could get them to write, when would your client want to move out? Okay, and how quickly could you contact your seller to present an offer? Is there anything I should be aware of that's not included? And so we tell them that, then we make that exact call. Do it right in front of them, and they're like, okay, this is an expert. This is somebody I want representing me, because now you know what's going on before you write that offer. Because you could write a great offer, but if the dates don't work, they're going to be like, we might as well counter price too. But we always say, when you want to write an offer, you want to write it like it's a birthday party. And if you've ever been to a birthday party, Sean, and somebody says, you want a piece of cake? You might say no. But if they put that cake in front of you with a fork, odds are you're going to take a bite. And that's what you want to do. You want to make sure the dates are right. Absolutely on point. And if you can give people time from title transfer to possession, give them 7 days, give them 2 weeks. It's such a stress reliever. If you give them time from title transfer to possession, you're in a competitive advantage. Make sure the chattel items are right. it's $3,000 less than they want. But you know what? They get extra time. Everything else works. I'm going to take a bite. I'm going to sign that contract.
That's what you did, right? I love it. And you did something very important there. And we called that don't let the cat out of the bag type script, right? If they're between 3 different properties, and I might be able to get them right on yours. See, because any agent worth their salt, guys, is going to reach out to anybody who's ever shown interest in that property at all, whether it be a showing or somebody who went through the open house, and they're going to say, you better hurry because I'm getting an offer tonight, right? So rather, just don't let the cat out of the bag, right? It's more of a surprise attack. I love it. So we don't have any questions coming in just yet. However,
that's when it's a good presentation, when you've answered them all in advance.
I'm telling you. So there's a couple of things that I stole from the Crockett team as I was in production. For example, Todd came up with the idea, or somebody at the Crockett team came up with the idea. You know those oil change stickers that are transparent that they stick on the inside of your windshield? Well, Todd had one created with their Crockett team logo and the phone number of their office, so that as buyers were out driving around looking at homes, rather than calling the number on the sign or maybe going to Zillow or Trulia to look it up, well, there's the phone number. It's right there in my windshield. I'm just going to go ahead and call Todd. Some other things, Crocketizing the house. Tell us about that.
We go ahead and anybody's going to look at any of their mechanical items to see when it's last been serviced. So we go ahead and have a sticker there right on their hot water tank or their furnace. And we have another one if it includes a home warranty with the home warranty contact information. So you have that on your listing. So we'll get calls from other people's buyers. Now they're looking to sell the property. They know the Crockett team has serviced that property. We're familiar with it, so they get us those calls. And then regarding now, since we've evolved a long time since those oil change stickers, so now it's just a matter of on your cell phone, you put yourself in as a contact with all of your contact information, all of your social media links. Then any other client, I'll go ahead and share my contact information with them so it pops up on their phone, and I'll ask them to save it. So with Agent Todd, it's going to show up that way, because that way I'm available to anytime that they see a property of interest, they know they can quickly call me. Because otherwise what happens is people end up, they see a sign, they're excited about the property. And we used to joke, because it's like a bug to light. You know you shouldn't do it, but you just can't help yourself. And sometimes buyers can't help themselves to call the listing agent. We want to make sure they can easily access for any information.
All right, so you put yourself under agent. Why is that?
It's easy to find with A. They can track it that way, because we are special agents. So just don't be a secret agent, be a special agent. So we do it that way.
Now, you said one of the massive benefits for somebody to join the Crockett team is that they learn in dog years. What does that mean?
Yes, that was good old Scott's line. And the challenge, because we have so many real estate scenarios that you're going to be learning at our meetings when you're rolling through how 7, 10 listings were obtained, and you're going to go through and learn about 10, 12 sales at a meeting. You're going to have all those case studies of what happened in today's environment. Was it an escalation clause that says your buyer is going to pay $1,000 over the highest offer with a cap number, but you have to see the other offer? Is it going to be a letter written to the sellers on why this buyer really appreciates the home? All the techniques. Is it because you knew how quickly the people wanted to vacate? Did you put an expiration clause so you knew when the property is going to expire? So all of those items in there, those techniques, we learn because they hear them, and they hear them time and time again, because no matter what, training is something we do, not something we did. Like, you can't have a good workout and be like, all right, I'm good. You got to consistently revisit it. And that's when we talk a little bit about Train Launch, because I really just look to replicate everything we did at the Star Power University, so we could have people practice their presentation, look at themselves, hit retake, do it, because you just need to stay sharp and continually learn from each other on how to improve your presentation with the intent of how to impact people, how to move them along the process quicker by understanding how to be a solution provider of anything we can do to provide a solution with our agents on how to be better in the process, our clients, whether it's sellers, property prep, short-term storage, anything we can do. How do we provide that solution? How do we scale that solution?
I love it. Well, and I think that's important, especially as it relates to Train Launch. And Todd, I think we should do a separate webinar for that. We'll label it something like how to train yourself and your team quickly and effectively, something along those lines, because that's exactly what Train Launch does, is it helps you with the skill set. And the bottom line is, guys, in this business, there's really only 3 things that we can control. That's first what we say, how we say it, and then saying it to enough people. That's where extraordinary success comes from. And Train Launch really hones in on that skill set, and it leverages you and your time so that the agents can really literally train themselves based on your methodology and modalities. So way to go, Todd. We are 5 minutes past the top of the hour. Buddy, always a pleasure. And most of the people are on Facebook Live with us today, so I'm sure that's why we didn't get a ton of questions. And you did an outstanding job, as always.
My pleasure.
Welcome to the ranks of the Icon, brother.
Thanks. Good to be there, brother.
Woohoo! Everybody, take care. We have our next webinar coming up in just 30 days' time, so be sure to visit iconcoachingra.com and get registered as quickly as you can. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rocco. Bye, everybody.